everybody, to this episode of CP Conversations. I'm very excited to introduce you to my next guest. April is Autism Awareness Month and Autism Acceptance Month. In this episode, I talked to Eliza Sledge. She's an author and the founder of One Break, an organization that raises money for those in need. Eliza left corporate America to work at home as a crowdfunding consultant and manager to care for her children. Her main priority is Charles, a handsome, lovable young man with autism, cerebral palsy, and other disabilities. Welcome to the show, Eliza. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing really well. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. And I know that what you do as far as raising awareness is give people a glimpse into your life with Charles. So I thought we could start with you telling us about Charles and what Look at Charles means.
Okay. Well, Charles now is an adult. He's 21 years old. So I've been, having to learn about Charles myself, and I still am today still, because every day changes. No day is the same. He has cerebral palsy, autism. Charles was born premature at 25 weeks. So a lot of things happen because of that. He is legally blind, so one eye is totally blind, the other one is visually impaired quite a bit. So there are a lot of challenges. But he has a personality that, it will bring a smile to anyone, so everyone loves Charles. Look at Charles came about was, when you have a child with disabilities and you go through so many doctors and they're telling you about what they will or will not be able to do in the future, it can be very devastating, and it was. And Look at Charles was about the things that the doctor said he wouldn't do.
And what were some of those things? What did they say?
Basically, they didn't give a date as far as how long he would actually live, but it was kind of felt that it wouldn't be a long life. So for a while, I'm going around kind of expecting to see some kind of huge change, like, okay, things are going to happen. And also that he wouldn't walk, he wouldn't ride a bike, he would be like a vegetable. That's the thought that I had in my mind from early on, because Charles was so tiny. He was born a little bit over a pound and a half, 944 grams. So at 9 months old, he was just about 9 pounds, and that's probably the size of a newborn baby. So it took a long time for him to start developing and things like that. So I'm still wondering, like, when is something dramatic, something going to happen? So there was a lot of fear there, although I was going through all the motions of what I needed to go to.
Yeah.
So after a while, he started doing these things. Of course, he wouldn't talk. He is still considered nonverbal. There are things that we understand, family or people who are around him, but for the most part, he's nonverbal, but he does know how to communicate. He knows how to work his iPad way better than I do. So those types of things I never thought he would do. Like, he wouldn't even be able to communicate or laugh or have fun with anyone. So now it's like, look at Charles, he's doing this. Look at Charles, he's doing that. So that's kind of what I want to keep bringing out, the things that he's doing
that he can do, because everybody can do something, whatever's within their capabilities. What was your experience when you first went to the doctors, and what kind of thing did they give you? Any resources as a parent with a child who has multiple diagnoses? Did you get any help?
Well, back then, because he's 21, that was the 0 to 3 program, where they did have some therapists come out to the home once, twice a week, something like that. But as far as any other resources, I don't know if I was in a daze back then, because when you're going through the motions and there's so many things that's happening, you just feel like it's an out of body experience. So I'm not quite sure if I don't recall any real resources given to me. Um, so it's kind of like, okay, we're going to give you this therapy. Someone's going to come out 2 days a week and someone's going to come out for this. And you kind of just go with the flow because you just don't know.
You just don't know.
You don't know what you should, you don't know what you don't know. And I try to tell a lot of parents sometimes, talk to other parents, see what their kids are doing, see what resources they've used, even if you haven't heard of it, question it, see what's it about, because it could benefit your child. And people aren't just out here with a book of resources. You have to basically pull it out of them,
Yeah. And what you're saying, I hear this so often, Eliza, so often, that people just don't have the information that they need to adequately care for their loved ones who have disabilities. And I think that is just unfair. It really is, because like you and I were talking before, it's not like autism was just discovered. It's not like cerebral palsy was just discovered. It's not like any of the other disabilities that Charles has, that they're rare and nobody knows anything about them. So the fact that as a parent, when you go to these doctors, you're really not left with anything other than basically you had to take advocacy into your own hands, is what it sounds like.
Absolutely. And they tell you, they might give you a diagnosis and maybe tell you what it means, but you are sometimes so overwhelmed, you don't quite get it.
Right.
And unless you go back and do some research on your own, you won't know anything. And you don't even know what you need to do about that.
So what did you do?
A lot of it was just finding out, once he started going to school with other children, that helped a bit, because you were able to see other kids, talk to other parents, and then you found out, oh, okay, let me look into that, and let me look into that. And that's how it came about. And then you just have to start just researching the diagnosis and other techniques and cures or whatever, because they didn't tell you. Few people talk about getting together and getting the resources for people, but no one ever actually did it. I actually thought about doing it before, but I was so overwhelmed with other things, it never actually came together. So even the organizations don't really have all the the information that you need at one place, in one place.
That's disappointing and shocking at the same time. Yes. It really is. Now, what I wanted to also ask you, Eliza, is how does autism affect Charles?
For me, honestly, when they first said autism, I didn't really have a clue about it. Again, they told me, the word autism, he has autism, and kind of that was it. So I didn't know the things that he was doing was actually because of autism. At his school again, and this is back in the Chicago area, there was a young lady who came and did a talk. She was an adult, but she had autism. And she started talking about the things that was happening to her, what she had gone through. And I started realizing that some of the things she's saying, this is why Charles is behaving a certain type of way. One thing that really stuck to my mind was about taking showers. She said the shower felt like a bunch of needles hitting her body. And so, of course, all this time you're giving him showers. He doesn't like them, and you don't know that. You don't know why. Mm. But when she said that part, I did buy her book and I did end up reading more. But things like that is just
so it like a light bulb.
Yes, yeah. So let me look more into what autism is. What is this flapping,
Stimming. I think it's called stimming,
He
right?
was doing it all the time. And you're saying, okay, stop that, Charles. Don't do that, Charles. No one told me that was part of autism.
Wow.
And so many things like that. And some things brings up his anxiety, the things that he does in autism. So I have to kind of have him calm down a bit for this and that. But it's actually, you have to have a mindful eye on everything that goes on.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That's really true. And now you live in California now, right? And you've experienced, you've told me that you feel that Charles has better doctors in California. So there was a difference between the doctors in Chicago and the doctors in California?
Yes. The doctors seemed to be good in Chicago. They were taking care of him, doing the things, that I thought was supposed to be happening. His vision doctor was excellent. Dr. Shapiro is top notch. But they didn't go any further than this visit right here. So that, and even as far as additional therapies. So when I came to, even before I was coming, I don't like to fly. I stopped flying. I used to love to fly, but I stopped flying and I started taking the train. So that's the whole other story.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so the train ride from Chicago to California is like 2 days. I've done it many times. And so when we moved out here, we actually took the train.
Wow. And well, does that help Charles? Does he like being on trains?
He loves trains.
I thought so, because I follow you, and I was like, wait a minute, I think that's something that he enjoys.
He loves trains. So on the train ride, you talk to a lot of people, people who live in California or who have moved out or whatever, and they're talking to you about Charles and the situations. And so many gave me tips. Oh, California, make sure you do this, make sure you do that, make sure you sign up with the regional center, things I had never heard of before, right? And they were the ones who directed me, even before I knew I needed that direction, to places to go. And once I went to the regional center, that they started telling me about other services, how the doctors work, going to a rehabilitation doctor because of his cerebral palsy. That never happened before. Yeah, just many things like that. Yeah.
And it's all because you met other people and you started talking to them. And that's kind of one of the things that I love about your story, is because, first of all, you take care of Charles by yourself, right?
Yes, I do now. Yes.
So, we all know how difficult that is. That's a whole other conversation. But I wanted to point that out because there might be some other single parents who watch this episode or listen, and I'm sure they're feeling overwhelmed because it's a lot of work when you have a child with, it's one thing to have one disability, but to have multiple, and autism in and of itself, it's very challenging.
It is.
So, we're not gonna, paint flowers and like roses and make everything sound like everything is great, because we want to let people know, what the struggle is about.
It is a real struggle. And, yes, we have to stay upbeat. We have to stay positive. And we look at our child and see that, they're happy, although they're going through this disability, but it's a challenge. It's hard work, for anyone. And I have talked to several single moms within social media, Instagram, who are having a really difficult time. And they're wondering, like, how am I always upbeat, for example, on the page, things like that. And I think maybe some of that has to do with my age too. I kind of lived my young life. I've had fun. I really had a lot of fun when I was young without the kids and everything. So I'm more settled. But when you talk to someone who's, in their 20s and they have a child that has a lot of disabilities and they feel that their life is over, it's really tough. It's really tough.
Weren't you telling me before that you got a message from one of those young women and your advice really helped her? What did you advise her?
Well, I basically I was telling her that one thing my mother told me when I was younger too, I was younger and had kids with Charles and had other kids and life was overwhelming. She said things can get better, they'll get older and they can do better and they'll be more of a help to you. But I did advise her to reach out to other parents.
Yeah.
Basically, definitely talk about it. I didn't realize that getting in a community or talking to other caregivers would be such a relief.
It helps so much, doesn't
It
it?
does. It does. So she started looking into other resources and the help that she needs for her son. She's doing so much better. I'm so thankful.
Oh, that is so great. And she's doing so much better because you took the time. See, that's what I love about our community. I see what you're doing, and there's so many other people that we both know. People are sharing their lives on social media, and
Yeah.
they're sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly. And sometimes you might think, "Oh, I'm sharing this, but you know, no one's really going to care." They do care.
And I didn't even start off on Instagram to do that. I started off, I think I told you I used to take pictures when we came to California of the different foods we were eating and send them to my daughter. And she was like, "Mom, you should just get an Instagram account and talk about the food you and Charles eat." And somehow the community came together. I guess maybe I mentioned disabilities. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But then I started sharing the stories. I have cried just listening to, people telling me that my story has helped them. I had no idea. But at the same time, their stories have helped me tremendously, tremendously.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. And another thing that I love about you is your positive attitude. Because when I asked you, I said, Eliza, what drives you? You told me that you want the best for your son. And that's something that drives you. So, how do you take care of yourself? Because I know that you're always working to improve Charles' life, and we'll get to this too. Didn't you even create like I want to say not a device, but to cover his, was it his head? You'll have to tell us about that. Like you took matters in your own hand because he was injuring, was it his eye? I'm trying to remember what.
Yeah.
And I saw there was a post and you used tape or used something that you put together because you wanted to try to minimize,
Yes.
him hurting himself.
Yes. The self-injury is something that he can't control.
Right.
Early on, we don't know what's going on because of, again, no one told me what this was. Okay, he's just banging his head and give him some medicine.
It's so scary.
It is, and he has really hurt himself, really bad at times, making his nose bleed. Move. Turn it off for a minute, okay? You want to come say hi? Can you come say hi?
Absolutely.
Hey, come say hi. Let's turn this off for 1 second. Come here, Charles. He's wearing a device on his head now. This is working pretty much better too. Hey, say hi.
Hi, Charles.
Camera, say hi. Hi. Can you go in? I'll be in there in a second, okay? Okay. I'll come turn it on in a second, okay? Okay. He has to have something in his hand all the time. Music, something's going.
Yeah. But did you make what he's wearing because you
But this
needed
is
something?
different. I started with different things. When he was younger, they gave him a helmet. A lot of small kids wear those. He started then banging his chin or any other place that the helmet didn't cover. He would find some kind of place to get that stimulation, and just various different things. But when I got out here, I was at my wit's end. He was hurting himself. So I ended up going to one of the sports stores and I was looking for things. And I ended up getting a catcher's helmet.
Mm-hmm.
and it just kind of covered.
Covered.
You know, I was about to get a football helmet in the beginning. I was at that point, right?
Right.
But then this came on because Charles doesn't really take things off as much. Some kids might just take them off and throw them. So the good thing is he doesn't take it off as much.
I was gonna ask. I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's easy to come off. So we did that for a while, and it worked a lot better. Before I moved out here, Charles had a big knot on his head just from banging all the time, you know.
Oh.
And since we've been out here 3 years, that knot has completely gone down. I didn't think it would ever go down. They had a lot of scar tissue under there from just constant hitting.
Yeah.
It's completely gone down.
Oh,
So
wow.
that worked for a while. But now I decided, because he stopped all the hitting like here and started just tapping on his nose.
Okay.
And that would make his nose bleed a lot. And then you see blood everywhere. It could be just a few drops, but it goes and it looks like it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I found this thing that what I guess basketball players wear when they
Are they nose guards or the? I'm trying
nose
to think.
guard.
Nose, yeah.
Yeah, it's a nose guard, and that's working really well. It's much more comfortable, not as big, not as heavy, and everything for him.
You are just so
But I'm
innovative.
It's just
seriously.
You just have to keep searching. I'll go places and I'm looking to see whatever I see. I'm trying to see, can this work for him? Will this work for him?
Right, but I think you give hope to other parents, because sometimes maybe they have no idea, but they could hear you and say, oh, well, maybe I'll try that. You know, maybe that'll work for them, because we all get suggestions from so many places.
Yes.
And, you know, I love that you just have a great attitude about things. When, listen, I'm sure there are days when you want to pull the covers over your head and you want a day off. And I think
absolutely, I just can't get one, but I do.
I know, I was going to say, is there anybody out there who can, unfortunately, she needs her own foundation to help her to give her a break. So why don't you tell us about One Break?
One Break started with a couple things. I was so, when I was struggling with with all the kids and Charles and everything, I needed one break.
How many kids do you have, Eliza? Let me.
5.
5. Wow.
5, raised 5 kids. So I would feel that if I could just get one break. That's how the name came about. One break could change a life, could give somebody a fresh start or whatever. So I wanted to think about ways to give, one break. And also the other part of it was people, who in need. And the other part was with Charles being nonverbal, unable to tell people who he is, like, what if he got lost? I wanted to create a communication device so that, they could track him. We never got to that part yet, but that's one of the goals for it, so that they could easily be found or tracked, like right away, should they become lost.
Yeah, that's important. So he doesn't wear any type of, there are companies out there, because my mom had Alzheimer's, so we looked into this, bracelets and certain things. Does he have any of those?
Well, he used to wear a bracelet, an engraved bracelet for a long time. Right now, what I have is a yellow, I guess it's kind of what you wear when you're on a bike that glows. Mm-hmm. But I have written on there, because the bracelet didn't give enough information for me. Okay. I wanted people to know that he had autism. He could not speak. He might react, in a manner that somebody might think is aggressive towards them, but it's not. Mm-hmm. So I needed more information right away for the person who would see him right then and there. Yeah. Whether it's someone that, a random person, whether it's the police, whoever.
Right.
They'd have more information. So it's a yellow band that I have all his information written on there, with my phone number that they can call right away. He's never out of my sight pretty much, unless he's at school. Mm-hmm. But it's still something that I'm still working towards. I actually brought an embroidery machine so that I can make it and make sure that
What,
I have
what
I have,
don't you do?
you know what? I've always called myself the jack of all trades. Okay.
See? That's,
And the person who has a million things to do. So that's why.
you know what? Let me tell you something. My mother had a lot of famous sayings, and one of them was, if you want something done, ask the busiest person you know. Because she was the mother
Absolutely.
of 11. I'm her youngest child.
Okay.
So
Absolutely.
yeah,
So yes.
yeah, you know what that's all about. And, I wanted to also tell people that you have a book. Tell us about Preemie Charles Brings the Christmas Spirit.
Well, yes, I have one too. So
Oh, I love it.
this is the first of many books, hopefully. I've been planning to do this. Like I said, I have a million things I want to do. So I've been planning to do it for a long time. So this year, well, last year now, I finally pushed it out. So it came out right before Christmas. And I want to talk about little tales about Charles. And the premise also is, and the whole title would be about look at Charles and the doctor said dot dot dot. Basically, so the first one that Charles was, they didn't know how far he was going to make it. When he was so small, I just kind of expected, one day to wake up and he, would not even be alive. So here's, a year later, and he's still here. And, the doctors were excited, we were excited. And so it's just that this is just the first tale of, him being here for the first Christmas.
And isn't he going to be turning 22 soon?
22. It seems like yesterday though, because nothing ever ends. But yes, he's turning 22.
How has this journey changed you, Eliza?
Tremendously, so much. As I said, when I was younger, I was outgoing. I liked to party, always having fun. Sometimes around the wrong people, but never doing the wrong thing, though. Okay. I was, doing the right things. So when people never would, back in the past, they would never expect me to be raising a child with disabilities. They thought I would still be someone who would probably be traveling from one country to another. But it has changed me because I have been able to understand more. I think I was pretty compassionate anyway, or,
You
towards
are,
others,
yeah.
but I just see it in a whole different light. It's made me just want to take care of everyone, yeah. And
Yeah.
even during my days, I've had to take care of my mother and my grandmother at the same time.
That's a
And
lot.
my father who died from dementia first.
I'm sorry. My
But
mother,
then
I know what that journey is like. Yeah.
yeah, so then mom and grandma both was at the house, both in wheelchairs. It,
Wow.
it was pretty rough. So it was
Yeah.
rough for the kids also.
Yeah.
But we managed.
Well, I just love talking to you. And I was wondering, what advice would you give to anyone out there who maybe they have a child with multiple diagnoses just like you? Where would you tell them to start?
Find a community of
That's
like.
where, yep, we've been saying it, right?
Yeah, that's where you have to go because the doctors aren't going to give you all the information you need. The therapists aren't. You have to find a community of diverse individuals with different needs, because some of their needs, the things that they're doing for themselves, can help you. You might not even have that diagnosis, but that therapy or whatever they're doing could
Yeah.
help you also. And they could give you so much advice and how to maneuver through different resources, how to find resources, and just to be that support. That's number one. That's
Yeah.
number.
And how has sharing your journey and your adventures with Charles, because I know you take him out regularly and you post videos on Instagram about what you guys are doing. How has that changed the way you're perceived and how people perceive Charles?
Well, hopefully they are becoming more aware of him and people with disabilities, and realize they're not, they don't have to just be stared at. You can interact with them. They want to interact with you. We have always been a family that traveled, I guess because there was enough of us, so we were able to, handle Charles and go on trips. We'd go skiing, just go different places, traveling, even just go to a hotel for a weekend and, for the pool. I always had Charles out, but I never actually saw a lot of other parents with their kids out because it's hard work. I do understand it. It's hard work.
Yeah.
So bringing him out amongst, other people helps him also. Before, it was more of a struggle. He had a tough time around people. As he's gotten older, and of course medications also, he's able to adjust with other people.
I think that's great. You're changing more lives than you can even possibly imagine. You really are. And I really love how you approach disability, how you approach taking care of Charles. And I hope you continue to do that on social media, because what you're doing is needed. Obviously, if you're getting messages from people, that's telling you right there that they need what you're putting out there. And I think you need it too. And
I do. I am so grateful for the community. I even wrote, that in my acknowledgments. I am so grateful for finding them, not even knowing that I needed them. And that's, I stress to others that you will be so surprised once you start sharing. I never thought I would be sharing as much as I do.
Yeah. And because we all want to feel like we're not alone. That's what it all comes down to.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if people want to connect with you, Eliza, where can they find you?
On Instagram.
On Instagram, and we'll put everything in the show notes. We'll put the link to your book in the show notes and the link to One Break. And so also everybody, Eliza's information will be coming across your screen of where you can find her. And if you want to know more about this Cerebral Palsy Conference, we have information on our website too, and you can check us out. Eliza, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure having you. And I look forward to seeing what the next adventure is for you and Charles.
Oh, it's halfway written. And so maybe in a couple months it'll be out, but I'm working on it slowly but surely.
It'll happen.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome.